What's it mean to you guys to have this gentleman back in the saddle and heading up border activities?
Well, as an American and as a sheriff, it means the world of difference. You know, not only is Tom a proven leader, but he's a cop and he understands the work that's being done. You know, today we've had more interaction with somebody from the federal government than we've had in 4 years. So this is nice to actually get the seat back at the table. And Tom is a proven guy, and to us, it's just a weight off of all of our chests.
His message has never changed. He doesn't have a political message out there, Dr. Phil. He has a message of reality. Is the fact that I've worked with him for many years, and he's never changed who he is, what he stands for, and that's the American people, the American dream, and making sure that we're protected.
And Tom, we're talking about you like you're not here, but you are here. You don't have to be here today, but you are here today. Why?
Because I care. I mean, I've been doing this job, like the gentleman said. I started as a police officer in New York in 1983. I mean, I'm an old guy, and I was a Border Patrol agent. I wore that uniform. I know what it's like to be that Border Patrol agent. I was an ICE agent. I was the first ICE director that actually came up through the ranks. So the 20,000 men and women that worked for me, I didn't ask them to do anything I didn't do because I was one of them. And I care because out of the 34 years I spent in immigration enforcement, I've seen a lot of tragedies. I've seen a lot of dead people. I've seen a lot of children who suffered. I've seen dead children. I've talked to little girls as young as 9 that were raped multiple times by the criminal cartel as part of the passage. It changed me forever. And at one point, it broke me. It broke my heart. So when I worked with President Trump, we succeeded and have the most secure border of my lifetime. And now I wake up every day pissed off because we got an administration who came in and unsecured the most secure border on purpose. Not by accident, not by mismanagement, by design. And when they did that, I knew exactly what's going to happen. More children would die, more women would be sexually assaulted, more known suspected terrorist threats are going to get into the country, more sex trafficking is going to happen, more death overall, and it has happened under Joe Biden's administration. We got a record number of aliens dying across the border, a historic number, almost 4,000. We got 250,000 Americans dead from fentanyl coming across the border. 600% increase in sex trafficking of women and children. They've lost track of 300,000 children that were smoking in this country and they released. I guarantee you many of them are living with pedophiles and enforced labor. Now I'm honored that President Trump asked me to come back for the second time from retirement to do this job and work with patriots like this who've been fighting the front line under numerous administrations, and they bear their brunt on the last 4 years of doing this on their own. They've been abandoned by this administration. Well, guess what? President Trump's got their 6, I got their 6, and they got my 6. And that's a beautiful thing to say in the world of law enforcement where you got each other's 6.
One of your key values is a secure border saves lives. What do you mean by that?
President Trump had illegal immigration down to a 45-year low. Illegal immigration was down 83 to 90%, depending what time frame you looked at. There's been numerous studies done that 31% of women that make that journey through youth cartels be sexually assaulted. 31% of women admitted it. So what is that number really, right?
Way underreported.
So when 90% less people are coming, how many women weren't being raped? How many children didn't drown in that river? How many Americans didn't die from fentanyl? Because when immigration is down 90%, Border Patrol is 100% on the line and vigilant. But under this administration, they overwhelmed with millions of people coming across the border where the majority of Border Patrol agents, not some, a majority of Border Patrol agents were pulled off their duties on the border, national security duties, to make sandwiches, change diapers, make baby formula, make hospital runs, make bus runs, and process this humanitarian crisis. At the same time they're doing it, the cartels took advantage. They created gaps. They send these groups to one area knowing Border Patrol's going to seize on that opportunity. Then they create gaps in the system. That's when they move the fentanyl. That's when they move the bad guys. That's when they move the 2.2 million that don't want to be caught, right? So having a secure border saves lives just because less people are coming, less people in harm's way.
I'm really curious about something. I think words are powerful. And I'm wondering if we really have an open border now, or if we have a border that the cartel has put a turnstile up on. Is this really an open border, or is it one that is controlled by the cartel? Are they the ones that are running the American-Mexico border?
Well, the open border calls the cartels to take control. The criminal cartels in Mexico control our southern border. They decide what comes in, who comes in, and where it comes in, and when it comes in. You talk to any Border Patrol chief, and I've talked to most of them, they'll tell you they've lost operational strategic control of the border. One chief patrol agent used the term when there's heat in the moment, when the numbers were 10,000 days, he says, Tom, this is broken arrow. Because I can't contain what's coming across. I'm not gonna get 10%. But the cartels, and they demonstrate it every day. You know, you think 100 family groups, 200 family groups show up at the same place at the same time by coincidence? No, the cartels will send a large group like that to overwhelm the Border Patrol, and they create gaps, operational gaps. The Border Patrol can come from other areas to deal with that humanitarian crisis, and that's when they move the fentanyl, that's when they move the gang members, and that's when they move the people that don't want to get vetted. You look at the numbers, 2.2 million people, known gotaways that we captured on video, drone traffic, or central traffic. Why did 2.2 million people pay more to get away? Why didn't they pay less to get released in 24 hours, get a free airline ticket to the city of their choice, get a free hotel room, nice hotel room, by the way, 3 meals a day, free medical care, and get work authorization within 4 months? Why would you not take advantage of that giveaway program at a lower cost? Why you paid more to get away? Because they don't want to be vetted, they don't want to be fingerprinted, and that's just scared the hell out of all of us. Border Patrols under Biden has arrested people from 181 different countries. That's almost every country in the world. Some of these countries are sponsors of terror. They've arrested 300 people on terrorist watch lists just on the border under these 4 years. How many of that 2.2 came from a country sponsoring terror? If you think it's zero, you're a moron. So me and Christopher Wray agree on one thing. This is the biggest national security vulnerability this country's ever seen. Something's coming. And when that something's coming, I want President Trump to be in the White House, not what we currently have.
So these are terrorist groups, and they're going to have to be dealt with accordingly.
Absolutely, terrorist groups.
And they're not just terrorist groups on the southern end. Because of the policies of this administration over the last 4 years, they have grown globally. Our inability to secure our southern border has not just affected America. It's affected it globally because now they're in 54 different countries, selling drugs all over the world because of the power that they were able to gain at our southern border.
And what you just said, they're in numerous countries across the globe, which is another reason they need to be declared terrorist organizations. We can attack it from a multi-country facet.
Right. You guys agree with this? What's your take? How do you react to what he's saying?
We're losing over 100,000 Americans a year to fentanyl. And the ones that don't die, these families are being crushed by the effects of fentanyl in their homes and in their families and in their communities. You talk about the people that are being abused by the cartels. Tom just mentioned them. You talk about the children that are being lost and used as pawns, the women that are being raped, the people that are being left for dead in the desert. We, the sheriffs, are the ones that go pick those people up in conjunction with our partners at Border Patrol. We're out there using our helicopters, our resources to pick people up that should have never have been in the desert on a 120-degree day. They should have never been there because we should have done our job in the first place. But they're being taken advantage of by bad policies and criminal organizations that have zero care for human life.
Dr. Phil, the number one responsibility of any elected official, from the president all the way down to a mayor, or a sheriff, a community leader, a national leader, anybody that wears a badge, is quality of life. That's what we do every day, is to go out and sustain that quality of life that people expect. And they're blind to a lot of things we do every day. And for somebody to turn a blind eye to that, or somebody takes an oath of office to say, I'm going to protect your quality of life and protect the rule of law in this country, but turn their back on it, that's gross negligence. If I did that, I promise you, I'd either be prosecuted or I'd be kicked out of office. And that's what's happened here. I truly believe the will of the people said, we've seen enough, we've heard enough, we can't take this no more. And that's why we have the change.
You know, they try to characterize you guys as just not caring about people that are trying to get to a better life. You said that this got to the point that it actually broke you. What do you mean?
I grew up in a small town upstate New York. You know, you grew up in a small town where everybody's milking cows, right? And if you fast forward, I'm standing in the back of a trailer, 19 dead people at my feet who baked to death. Baked to death. All the ones that died are in their underwear trying to get some relief from the heat. Steel box, black, no lights, no air, no water. And when I went to that crime scene and I keyed on a 5-year-old little boy wearing Batman underwear, same underwear my son had, my 5-year-old son. And you think about the tragedy of that life being lost, you think about what that little boy went through, how he suffered. No one should suffer like that. And it broke me because I know it can be fixed. I know it can be prevented. When you have a secure border and people aren't making that journey, they're not dying. Think about the little girl, whether it's, the numerous ones that died, Lake and Riley. That little girl fought for 18 minutes. She didn't want to die. She's fighting for every breath. She tried to call 911, and that got stopped. This little girl panicked in terror, fighting for every minute of her life. Killed by someone that's not supposed to be here. And I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. Now that incident back in tractor trailer, that changed me forever. And I'm a tough guy, but I had to get help. I mean, it's when you deal with so much tragedy, it wears on you. People want to know why I'm so emotional, why I'm so hardcore in this, because I'm sick and tired of burying children and having women being raped. And I'm sick and tired of talking to angel moms and dads whose children were murdered by someone that's not supposed to be here. I'm sick and tired of all the fentanyl deaths and all these parents that have suffered loss of their child. And everybody wants to beat us up on Trump's family separation. No one wants to talk about the separation that occurs 1,000 times more by a parent burying their child. That's separation. This isn't about being a badass. This isn't about being the border god or anything I've read on the paper. This is about saving lives. Every Border Patrol agent that wears that uniform, they're a mom and dad too. They don't hang their heart on a hook when they go to work. They save thousands of lives every year. These men save thousands of lives every year. And I'm tired of the chaos and the death. And I'm gonna do everything I can to fix it, because it's the right thing to do for this country, the right thing to do for the men and women who put a Kevlar vest on every day, put a gun on their hip to do the job that Americans want them to do.
And how much money do you guys spend in ICE detention centers, for example, on health and treatment and care for these people when they are in detention?
When I was ICE director, we spent nearly $1 billion in health care. And here's what, and the left media attacks ICE detention facilities all the time. I dare any facility, any state or federal local facility to compare their detention standards to ICE detention standards. Anybody go to ice.gov, look up PBNDS-11, performance-based detention standards. I think most taxpayers would be pissed off on how much money we spend on detention standards. Matter of fact, there are sheriffs across the country that backed out of our contracts because they could not afford those detention standards. These people are well taken care of, but they want to talk the deaths in custody when we have people in custody that die, whether it's a heart attack or something that's unexpected. Our deaths in custody are a fraction of every other facility in the country, but they'll earmark, well, ICE lost 14 people in custody this year, died in custody.
Better than they'll get almost anywhere else.
ICE facilities, sometimes the first vaccinations children get. Sometimes it's the first time they've ever seen a doctor. Matter of fact, the medical professionals at ICE, they save thousands of lives because they'll find something that the alien didn't even wear head.
We have to work together. If we're going to protect children, if we're going to protect people, we have to work together. And that's why I stand with President Trump. Our borders are, and I'm glad you accept that title.
How can you not listen to him and realize this is the right guy for the job?
Yes.
You can feel the emotion that he brings. You can feel the balance that we are often called to bring to a situation, the balance of law and order and humanity. And I mean, how do you not listen to this interview and say, this is the right guy for the job?